for Karachi University. And he obtained his PhD from Al Madina International University in Tafsir and Ulum al-Quran. Alhamdulillah. He served as a resident scholar of Worcester Islamic Center in Massachusetts. Currently, he's an instructor at the Boston Islamic Seminary and resident scholar at Ibn Dallas in Dina Amal Institute. Without further ado, inshallah, I will hand it over to Dr. Asif Hirani. Jazakallah.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ala. So I'm really excited. Thanks for having me. Thanks for generosity and charitable nature, mashallah. I don't deserve this, may Allah bless us all. I mean, so first thing is the disclaimer that we won't be able to cover everything you see on this whiteboard right now, because it requires at least 10 to 15 hours to understand about each of, and sorry for my handwriting, each and every ism. Secularism can easily take at least 5-6 hours when we give Islamic versus secularism analysis. Liberalism is also a very big elephant we can't ignore. The most misunderstood ism is conservatism in Muslim community. Then Marxism is something which is very relevant and contemporary to us. Not Marxism, but neo-Marxism. So I was discussing with Maz that what approach I should take. So what I will do, I'll just give you a brief intro of what happened that all these isms came, and maybe a few things we can mention about nationalism, secularism, liberalism, and then we can have a Q&A. Okay, if you have any contestant, raise your hand and ask me, can you repeat, can you clarify? If you want to debate with me, then I would say wait until, because the time is precious. We only have a few minutes. I'll give you that after Salatul Isha. Whatever you want to insult me, you can insult me, inshallah. But I would say, if I say anything unclear, ambiguous, and you need more clarification, then you can raise your hand, ask questions. But again, for debating, inshallah, I love being contested, so contest me, but inshallah for debate, come after Salatul Isha, inshallah. Okay, let's just start this. So, Islam is a peaceful religion, yes or no?
Yes.
No. Surprise, right?
Yes.
Because Islam is peaceful, not religion. Islam is peaceful, not religion. Why? Because religion is an English word, and the category of religion came after 15th century. And when did Islam came? 1400 years ago. And 15th century is just 600 years ago. Surprise, right? They used to have the word religio in Latin. And they never meant this entire faith can be put into the category of religion. Religion was introduced after 15th century. Where secularism, yeah. To say public sphere is for secularism, private sphere is for religion. So that's where the category of religion came around Renaissance. So a lot of surprises you will get today, a lot of surprises. The problem is that you might think by listening to these things that I know all these things, but I can guarantee you, I want to puncture your ego right now, that most of you don't have idea about all these things. Because when difficult concepts look simple, it's a big red flag. It's a big red flag. It's an ocean. Okay, let's just start one by one. If you want to understand the roots of these isms, where these isms came, all the historians, all the scholars would say, go back to Europe. Go back to Europe. That's where all these isms originated. So when we go back to Europe, which religion European people practice? Now I'm using the word religion as a casual term, not as a philosophical term, okay? Christianity. Okay. When they practice Christianity, they didn't say it's religion. They said it's Christianity, which includes religious aspect, secular aspect, political aspect, church, state, everything. Is that clear? Okay. Before Christianity, who were there in Europe? But who? Which civilization? Roman civilization, right?
Yes.
Before Roman, who were there? Greeks. almost all the historians say if you want to understand, start with the Greek civilization. But we don't have time, subhanAllah. So let's jump directly. So Greeks went, Roman came, Rome, then Christianity came, Constantine converted into Christianity, then Christianity went like wildfire. In the meanwhile, Christianity got changed because it's a huge, huge story, subhanAllah. Now, Christianity became a central religion of Europe and the Roman Empire because it adopted the king, emperor, Constantine, accepted Christianity, and it was basically now everyone have to become Christian to save their life. Okay. Now the next stage is that when we are saying Christendom in Europe and the vast, basically Egypt also, we are saying political system, church, everything have to be run by the church, by the Christendom. Okay. Now you tell me, did Jesus-centric religion, that's what modern day Christianity is, right? Jesus-centric religion. Did Jesus, peace be upon him, establish any political authority during his time? No. So there is a void. How can you find a political guideline in a prophet who never gave or established a political authority? It's not like Prophet Muhammad who had in Medina, or we have a Khulafa who gave us guidelines, right? So there is a void. Who will fill this void? Pope. Did you see now an element of abuse or theocracy? When you won't get religious guidance, divine guidance for political life, and you are saying that actually political life have to be taken from religion, and when your religion does not offer any guidance, then there is a room for theocracy, right? Okay. Did Jesus get married? No. Did the mother of Jesus, who was the mother? Maryam, Mary, got married? No. Did Yahya, John the Baptist, got married? No. Did you see something? All these central figures in Christianity, they never got married. So would you get any social, family, sexuality, political guidelines? No. Again, do you see something? The reason why they went to monasticism for spirituality, don't get married, is because of they're not getting any guideline for social and political aspect from divine. There was an element of human abuse there. Is that clear? Now, Europe was going through the dark age. And in the meanwhile, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came because Christianity got so corrupt that Allah SWT had to send a final messenger which would be protected. And we flourished. We achieved our golden age where we were great in science and great in religion. In the Baghdad, in the Spain, while they were struggling with the dark age. Few things happened that Christianity or Christendom, people in the Europe start feeling frustrated from the Christian religion or Christendom. What were those things? First thing, it's a very simplified version. There are many different versions I can tell, but you have to go start this one. There was a power abuse by the church. There was a sexual abuses by the church. There was a financial abuse by the church. And the church was the most powerful institution. The king, the emperor have to submit to the church, not the other way around. Resulting in, first, people saw this abuse and they start having phobic reaction, hate reaction, hostile reaction to anything coming from totalitarian Christianity. Second, a powerful group came from the Catholicism, called as Protestant. The entire Protestant Reformation started after Renaissance. And what it did, it basically, in the 120-year period, there was a war, continuous war between the Protestant and Catholic and different denominations, where people were killing in Europe, Christians were killing Christians of different denominations, and they were justifying this by quoting the Bible. And just rough estimate, if you Google it, how many people died in those 120-year wars in Europe between Catholic and Protestants? Can you give me any idea?
100,000.
5 to 8 million people. Now tell me, if you are there, would you have this allergic reaction from the religion? That people are killing, why you're killing your brother, Christian brother? Because he's quoting Bible, to kill him. He's quoting Bible, to kill him. That's the entire reaction. This will result in a moral relativism. Okay. And there are many other reasons. The church also were not very acceptable of the scientific technology and development. They would disregard and discourage philosophy, logic, science. They would burn their scientists like Galileo, Bruno, Urs. And I can go on and on. It's a 1-hour discussion on each of this. What it did, all these reactions, if you connect the dot properly, abuse, a reaction came from European people which said that we have to reduce the power of the church and reduce the Jesus into the churches because we cannot handle Christianity outside. It will bring too much violence. Okay. What they did, they basically said, we have to take power from the churches and we have to reduce the churches into the mosque. This is called as secularization. Is that clear? But there is one problem with this. Okay, if you are frustrated from the Christianity, you took the power from Christianity and you reduce it to the church. But who is going to make decision outside? Who is going to run the society? Any idea? Nationalism. So you took the power from God, a Christian God, and you gave it to nation state. Right? You took the loyalty from the God and you give it to nation state. And that's why secularization and nationalism is same thing, because they grow at the same time because of the same reason. They are connected. Nationalism cannot work without secularization. Okay, move on. When this happened, how you are going to decide political system, economical system, social system, sexuality, anything, when now God is removed from outside? Well, wait a minute, we have these isms now. That's where these isms were going to come. Some of them are political system. Some of them are economical system. Some of them are social systems, which I didn't write for a reason. And that's where philosophers will come, that no, we cannot take God's guidance because he's too violent. That's what they would say. We have to use our rationalism, empiricism, or today just feelings to identify what is right and wrong and what should be implemented in our society. Is that clear? A very brief introduction of the basically entire 2,000-year history I just presented. Okay, now let's start. So Christianity broke in Europe into secularism and nationalism. Is that clear? What it did, the impact of it is huge. With secularism, actually, I'll come to that later. Okay, leave on. Then the process came, which is called as enlightenment. Do you know what enlightenment means? When secularism disconnected God from the people, when secularism disconnected God from the public life, when secularism pushed God or religion or revelation only to private life, private affair, they would regard this phase as an enlightenment. That man becomes mature, enlightened means something lightens up. Man becomes mature, lightens up, that now we can actually explore the real world in the light of science, in the light of rationale, and so on and so forth. Now take a pause here. Okay. Just try to give me benefit of doubt. Okay. I know this, what I'm saying, you are going to feel angry. English is a pretty anti-theistic language. It's not like Arabic, it's not like Turkish, it's not like Urdu, it's not like Farsi. All these languages submitted to theistic God. But Anglo-Saxon idea or English is pretty anti-theistic. I told you religion. Anything irrational, anything mythical, anything mythological, anything which doesn't make sense, anything which goes against the science, anything which is full of violence, they'll put in the category of religion. And who can define what is religion? You know what's the definition of religion? Anyone can give me the definition of religion? No one. There are PhD researches done, and the conclusion is religion term should be dropped. Do you know this? Harvard professor, he passed away, he was a McGill professor, then he became a Harvard professor, and he said, conclusion of my research is religion term should be dropped because it's very confusing. Okay, and we use casually for Islam. Islam never used the word religion. Okay, the word human is different than the word insan. The word God is different than the word Allah. Similarly, the word enlightenment. They are saying enlightenment is when you disconnect from God and you use your rationale, right? Now take a pause here. Allah says in Surah Nur, Allahu Nur Samawati wal. Okay, what does it mean? Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Then 2 ayah later, 3 ayah later, Allah says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجْعَلِ اللَّهُ لَهُ نُورًا فَمَا لَهُ مِن نُورٍ. If you don't have light from Allah, you will be lost in darkness. Now take a pause here. Allah says that if you are disconnected from Allah, you will be lost in darkness. Here they are saying, if you are disconnected from higher moral authority, then you are enlightened. Basically, we can say their enlightenment is their endarkenment. Yes, but there is one thing which is happening and which is confusing. It's a common narrative, selling point for the Westerners for their colonial power. When they'll go to Pakistan, when they'll go to Saudi, when they'll go to Egypt, they will sell this selling point. See, we have world-class technology. We are international leaders. It came to us when we privatized the religion. You have to do the same thing. That's their selling point, and that's the biggest myth. How they can mix technological rise and moral bankruptcy. And we are buying this garbage also. Scientific revolution, technological advancement, and moral bankruptcy. These two things are not connected, especially for Muslims, because we have that before the entire Renaissance and Reformation in Baghdad. World-class scientists were in Baghdad. And this is when Europe was struggling with Dark Ages. And we were close to religion. The era of 200-300, Golden Age, where we had Imams like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and scientists like Khwarizmi and others, famous people. And there are so many rational scientists and religious scientists came at the same time. So we Muslims should never buy this from the Western colonialist movement who wants to globalize the secular system, because it's a myth. It's a myth. Okay, come back to this. If I'm all over the place, please forgive me, because I'm trying to summarize the entire 15 hour into 1 hour. So that's enlightenment. Now the problem is, when secularism said God should be privatized, nationalism says, okay, and I already told you, who is going to administer our affairs before that? Secularism will say, you are free, you don't have to follow God in public life, in economics, in society. You can go to the mosque or to the church or to the synagogue, do whatever rituals you can, come out, and then you are free. That's secularization. But then the problem is, they will say, we are free as an individual, as a human being, then who is going to administer our affairs? Because if I am free, I can do any harm to you. So who is going to define rules and basically administer? They would say, we have a body called nation state, nationalism. What they would do, when I am becoming part of one nation, or I'm born there, I'm giving them a social contract through consent, through voting. That you restrict my freedom, and I will be fooling myself I have freedom, because I actually got rid of my religion. But now I took actually power from the religion, and I give the power to the nation state. That's the only thing which will happen. So that's very interesting, subhanAllah. We think we are free, but no. It's like you can worship one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you can actually give your power to many other beings like you. Okay, then comes enlightenment. Now comes the problem, or the aqidah, I would say. When human being is being told in Europe and through European colonialism, now obviously America has taken charge, that human being is free. You don't need, they are being challenged from the philosophical angle, you don't need religion at the collective level, at the public level, to become a better person. Actually, religion is a mythical, irrational thing, that's what they would teach. So, then they have to come up with their own definition of human being. They would say there are 5 things. If you understand these 5 things, you will understand the aqidah of liberalism. But when I'm saying liberalism, what is liberalism? Liberalism is not what Joe Biden says, right? Conservatism, liberalism, both are liberalism. There are two kinds of liberalism, just remember this. One is political liberalism, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about philosophical liberalism. All these things are considered philosophical liberalism or comprehensive liberalism. But yeah, political liberalism, when we discuss, if you discuss, then we'll come to the conservative and classical, modern, all those things, okay? Is that clear? So philosophical liberalism, when secularism happened, it disconnected man from the God, then how do you define human being? They would say we can define human being, and I can give you just in an easy language 5 aqidah of liberalism or 5 usul of liberalism. You know, it's very important to understand, because if you want to understand Islam, you have to understand the aqidah. Believe in Allah, believe in the judgment. So what is the aqidah of liberalism, philosophical liberalism? First aqidah of liberalism, first aqidah. By the way, this is the backbone of liberalism, backbone. Second aqidah of liberalism is equality. Okay? Third aqidah of liberalism is freedom. Fourth aqidah of liberalism is a choice. And fifth aqidah of liberalism is autonomy. And all these things, if you see individualism, equality, freedom, choice, autonomy, these 5 things, they would take it as anti-tradition, anti-authority. Is that clear? It's very important. So, any tradition, any authority, any religion, or any revelation which goes against the individual equality, which goes against the individual freedom, which restricts the individual freedom, which goes against the individual choices, lifestyle choices, or which goes against the individual autonomy, that's toxic, that's violent, that's oppressive tradition, revelation, and it needs to change or at least reform. Otherwise, we will humanize them by all means possible. That's liberalism, philosophical liberalism. Is that clear? Does it make sense? I'm trying to use as philosophical language as I can, because it can get very spicy. Okay. Now, there are so many things, subhanAllah. Okay. Let me just give you a quick review of this, and then let's have a Q&A, inshallah. Maybe let's do this. You might see that I put these things under individualism and put these things, socialism, Marxism, under equality. Actually, I will tell you this. Let me just give you a brief introduction. Okay, and now let's come. What is conservatism? Political, yeah.
Old school values. They say belief in God, family, guns nowadays.
Okay, you are going too political. Okay, let's go one by one.
Okay.
Conservatism means you have to conserve something, right? From the political angle, there are books actually I can recommend that. This is, by the way, the most misunderstood school of thought in Muslim community, I would say. Conservatism is not religious school of thought. Conservatism actually is an empiricist school. You might say, conservatives are empiricists? Scientists? Absolutely. That's what their school of thought is. But why they are anti-vaccine, mask? Wait a minute. They are on empiricists, they believe in freedom, they believe in individualism, all these things. I'll tell you why they were anti-vaccine and all those things. Why they would get support of religion and family? They would say their rule of thumb, obviously we can have a Thursday class that's a different 2 hour on conservatism, but just the summary of conservatism is that whatever worked in past, we should not change. Liberalism will say just change everything, move forward. Is that clear? Conservatism says if something worked, then keep it consistent, don't change. Liberalism will say be progressive. Sisters are wearing hijab, astaghfirullah, 2024. You are wearing hijab in 2024. It means, with this logic, that whatever I'm doing right now, it's wrong, because next year I will be right. And the next year when I will be right, I'll be wrong, because 2 years later, I'm going to further process my epistemology. So, that is conservatism, by the way. Conservatism says, whatever worked in past, don't change. Don't change. Do you have any Quranic ayah like that? Which respond to conservatism? Absolutely. Many a times Quran says, Awa aba'una al-awwalun. We won't change. This is our parents used to do this. Have you seen that? Okay, I'll give you an example in the Muslim community. You see this divider, right? Sisters are sitting here, brothers are sitting here. Give me an example of a conservative reaction and a liberal reaction in a Muslim community. I don't know anything about this masjid. Don't email me, email Bas. Okay? Okay, a liberal reaction will be, remove this divider. Why this divider is there? Conservative reaction, not only remove the divider, remove the sisters. Right? And then you're going to see fiqh from our angle. Then you're going to see tazkiyah from our angle. Then you'll see aqidah from our angle. I have my books. Those of you who are saying, maybe Shaitan is coming, that who is this idiot is speaking. Can you bring those books, inshallah? So that you know, at least I know a little bit what I'm talking about. My wife had the keys. Can you bring the keys? Okay. It's in the front, inshallah. Okay. So, conservatism is a huge problem in the Muslim community, just like liberalism. Rasulullah did not come to conserve anything. Right? And Rasulullah did not come to liberate anything also. Islam is Islam. And we say Islam is in between in conservative and liberalism. I don't agree with this. Because when you are saying Islam is in between conservative and liberalism, you know what you are saying? So you were going to accept whatever is in the middle. In 1960, both conservatives and liberals would say homosexuality is haram. In 1960, they would say it's illegal. Now they both are saying it's not only permissible, it's part of your identity. How can you say that we are in the middle of conservatism and liberalism and their goalpost is changing? So it means our goalpost is changing every year. Islam doesn't agree with all these garbage. Islam says Islam is Islam, it's a different ethical code. We don't get guidance from these philosophers, we get guidance from Allah and His Messenger. And who will explain Allah and His Messenger? Our scholars. This is a very important point. So that is just conservatism. We can talk more about this inshallah some other time. Classical liberalism is the liberalism 1.0 or the original liberalism. They said it's just like when you will get a new car and you will have childish excitement. Scientific revolution came, industrial revolution came, people get childish excitement about that. So they said everyone has freedom. Whatever they want to do, they can do. Freedom, freedom, freedom. European people went wild with the freedom concept. What happened? So now, and I'm giving this example with complete caution. Just listen to my complete talk. Don't try to interpret my words and put into your brackets, okay? When this classic liberalism came, one of the problems happened that they gave absolute freedom to everyone. So basically, if I am the owner, and if a person come into my restaurant, if I'm the owner of the restaurant, if a person come into my restaurant, and if let's say he is a white person, it's up to me if I'll give him permission. If he's a black, it's up to me. I can deny because it's my freedom. And you know the history in America, right? Then they said we have to actually change this because this is racism and all these things. Then they came up with the social liberalism or moral liberalism. But even in America we say moral liberalism. In Europe they say social liberalism. This is actually impacted with socialism. They said that no, this is not working. Let's have moral liberalism. Moral liberalism is we cannot give freedom to the owner. We have to consider equal opportunity. So whether it's a white or a black or a man or a woman, all of them have to get the equal opportunity. But the problem is you are restricting the freedom of the owner. And if you see deeper, if you are still alive in this conversation, it can actually lead to many problematic issues. Now you are going with whatever the consumer or the customer feels, you have to open the gate for it. So for example, if I ask Maz, where are you from?
Pakistan.
Immediately told me Pakistan. He could have said, Dr. Asif, it's racist. You should not, you are judging my ethnicity. Right?
You're hurting my feelings.
You're hurting my feelings. You know why this happened? This happened. Okay, I'll give you an example. I was actually in Umrah. I was boarding a flight for Jeddah, and I saw a Hijabi sister struggling to put the luggage. So I went to her and I said, sister, let me help you. And she said, who told you I am weak? I said, do it. Did you see something? This is called, in philosophy terms, microaggression. How microaggression will be interpreted? Is it based on intent or interpretation? How Mars will say, I was racist. Is it because of my speech or his interpretation? But it should be my speech. He can interpret it anyway. It means he have a fight with his wife and he can say, sorry man, Alhamdulillah. He have a fight with his spouse and he would say, oh, I'm actually sad because Imam Asif said this, I interpreted this in this way. It's possible. This basically, socialism leads to Marxism and Marxism leads to New Marxism. New Marxism is basically woke culture. You know woke culture? In slang, we say woke. That's a derogatory term in some segments because of many different aspects. Philosophical term is New Marxism. So we should not use woke casually because it has many elements of racism and ethnic issues. We should use New Marxism. New Marxism is when they would say, we are being, as a minority, we are being oppressed and we need to do something. These isms, isn't it? Okay, now final thing. Some people will say we have to get individualism first and then equality will come by itself. They are these isms. Conservatism, liberalism. Some people say no, we have to get equality first and then individualism. They are socialism, Marxism, Neo-Marxism. Is that clear? And these three things are coming obviously by default. Freedom, choice, autonomy. We can talk hours and hours about what's wrong with individualism, what's wrong with equality, what's wrong with the idea of secularism. Summary is that they are all anti-theistic. They can never work with Islam. And you have to give loyalty to one, either to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or to these isms. We should not say, as a Muslim, that I am a liberal Muslim or I am a conservative Muslim, because philosophically these have pretty anti-theistic background. We should say Alhamdulillah Muslim. If you want to go further, you can say I'm Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali, falling in fiqh. If you want to go further deeper, I'm Ash'ari, Maturidi, our Aqidah inclination. But you should never use these philosophical terms. But if people use this, they are not thoughtful, so we should not immediately say that actually, how can you say this? Maybe they're using from the language standpoint, not from philosophy standpoint. Even though I'm not a big fan, but we should not judge people immediately with what they are saying. But this is just the summary of what I teach for 15-16 hour course in Islam versus modern idols. Oh, I didn't tell you about feminism and masculinism, right? Okay, tell me, where is feminism here? Sisters. Let me see. How many waves of feminism are there? 4. Some say 3 or some say 4, right? First wave of feminism is classical liberalism, okay? And by the way, conservatism is also classical liberalism from the philosophical standpoint. Second, you know what is the first wave of feminism, sister? Voting rights. Owning rights. Before 1920, women did not have a right to own something. Now we don't even know what is a woman. Isn't it strange? It's strange, right? But some sisters cancel me for saying this. Well, cancel me more. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Modern liberalism. Modern liberalism. Second way, okay. Did you see something? Women did not have a right to own something. Women did not have a right to vote something. And go back to the Medina, where Umar radiallahu anh is putting the mahar amount fixed. And a woman corrected Umar radiallahu anh. And Umar radiallahu anh had to correct himself that woman is right, Umar is wrong as a Khalifa. We gave political right to women 1400 years back, and these masakin were struggling. Don't mix technology with morality. This is a rule of thumb if you want to understand isms. Sometimes with our defeatist mentality, we came here for money, maybe gas station owner working in Amazon, taking picture, that mashallah your brother is getting job in Amazon. All these things with defeatist mentality, we start taking their morality superiority. They are struggling in morality. How many of you know Urdu? Raise your hand. Okay, then I can actually say this. And I'll translate this inshallah. I'll translate this. Allama Iqbal came back from Europe after doing PhD in philosophy. And he realized that everyone is talking about westernization. So he said this. He says, तुम्हारी तहजीब अपने खंजर से आप ही खुदकुशी करेगी कि जो शाखे नाजुक पे आशियाना बनाएगा वो नापायदार होगा. He says your civilization, your Western civilization from morality standpoint, will going to commit suicide from its own dragger. Because you have removed God from the morality, and when you remove God, you build house on human weak foundations, it will collapse soon. So technology-wise, West is still international leader. Morality-wise, it have committed suicide. See Gaza. Freedom of speech committed suicide in Gaza. Women rights activists committed suicide in Gaza. They are only concerned that Barbie is not getting nominated for Oscar, but there are 50,000 women in Gaza who are forced through the miscarriage, and our women rights champions in America and England who are concerned for the Barbie not getting Oscar nomination are quiet. It's remarkable hypocrisy. I'm not even saying hypocrisy, because hypocrisy has something concealed in it. It's not even concealed anymore. Allah understand. But anyway, classical liberalism was the first wave. It talks about equality, individualism, all those things. So basically they got their voting rights. In 1920, women got their voting rights, yes? No! Only few women got their voting rights. If you are white, you can vote. If you are black, you cannot vote. When the black woman got the voting rights? 1965. Okay? Just telling you. This is our role model. Okay. Then comes moral liberalism. Why I'm telling you, as in America, this is a, subhanAllah, if a doctor start following the advice of the patient in the surgical room, what will happen? We believe that we have such a beautiful system given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of morality. Our morality comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we are saying, leave the system away and let's follow these philosophical issues. Means in morality, no compromise, our system comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, technology, we can take it from anyone with the guardrails of Allah's messenger. So we have so much to offer to the entire world. But when we are thinking with defeatist mentality, then who is going to? They say in Arabic, if nur is dark, then what will be the darkness? So we should be confident and proud when talking. This is first wave of feminism. Second wave of feminism came in 1960. Free love movement, especially after the sexual revolution. This was basically modern liberalism. It's a very big topic. We might not be able to discuss. If you all have, just ask me in Q&A. Any questions? Third and fourth wave of feminism was basically, and the present day feminism is about this. So yeah, masculinism, toxic masculinity is actually about this also, neo-Marxism. They will pretend themselves as a masculinity crisis. Yes, there is a masculinity crisis. But eventually they were going to respond with one toxic to the other toxic behavior. So that's the summary of this entire ism. Sometime you will see that these isms, all these isms, when they came because there was a genuine need. Feminism came because there was a genuine need. What was the genuine need? Can anyone tell me, sister? Fatima. But she's my daughter. Okay. Women were being oppressed. Where? Europe, mashallah. 17th century. I told you that they did not even have rights to own something, right? They cannot even go to church. They need a man. Look, compare this to Islam. A Sahabiya came to Rasulullah ﷺ that I need a khula. And Rasulullah, after saying that no, don't get khula, but she said, no, I have to get khula, he gave khula. Compare this to the 18th century woman in Europe. She don't even have that right, which Islam gave 1,000 years ago. So they were oppressed. And then on top of that, there was a witch hunt movement. Do you know witch hunt movement? Just Google it. More than 100,000 women in Europe were accused of being witches and they were killed. When these things will happen, and then I am planning to write something on this very soon. When these things will happen, when misogyny will happen, then what will happen? And they don't have a divine guidance to guide them. Then you will try to respond to one extreme from the another extreme. Then women rights activists came, feminist movement started, and because they don't have any barriers of divine guidance, it slowly became toxic. Similarly, masculinity crisis, do we have? Yes. The statistics are telling. But because we are not getting our guidance of masculinity from Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, so now we are trying to respond to one extreme from the other extreme. Most of the masculinity, toxic masculinity things, they want to revive conservative style of masculinity, not Islamic style of masculinity. Does that fire? However, this is a different topic altogether. Point is, whenever these isms will come, there was a need, social need, economical need, political need. But because the society is not connected to divine guidance, you will see that that they will try to respond to one extreme than the other extreme. Liberalism is a reaction of totalitarian Christianity. How can we idolize Pope? That whatever Pope says becomes the part of my destiny. Rebel against the Pope. That was the entire idea. So, it's our mistake also that we are not doing enough da'wah. Sheikh Abdul Hassani Nadwi said in his famous book, when Muslims came to Spain, they should not have become complacent. We should have actually gone further. Before Christopher Columbus came for his barbecue here, we should have come here with our message. Can you imagine this? We are in the heart of Europe. What would if Protestants' migration happened before that? If they would have received Islam, things would have been different. This is the summary. Now let's have a Q&A, a civil discussion, inshallah. I hope we can have civil discussion, inshallah. I know these are very hot topics, and it's not difficult. It's very easy to have a civil discussion, inshallah. You just need to control on yourself, and I need to control on myself. And you'll give one question to brother, one to sister, and let's try, inshallah. Okay, let's start, inshallah. Tell me. Okay, if you're not, okay, let me ask you this. If you're not asking, I will ask you. Can you bring the books, Samas? Inshallah. It's in Blue Odyssey, my trunk.
No, you already got it.
Okay, not my trunk, my card, sir. Okay, let's start. Tell me, what's the moral implication of liberalism or nationalism? What's the moral consequences? Tell me, on a person. What's the moral consequences when you are liberal or nationalist or secularist? Tell me. It's a very easy question. Irfan, you are my son, Fatma is my daughter. Are we having class at home? Let's go to a hotel and have class there. Okay, Irfan, tell me. Okay, what consequences you will get morally out of that?
Nationalism, then basically you have preference over being a country. My country comes from before religion or anything.
MashaAllah. So I'll give you moral consequences for that nation state. If violence can be good or bad, who will define that good or bad? Nation state. If you are going to do a good violence to protect the interest of the nation state, national interest, and who will decide that? Lobby group, then it's a good violence. But if violence removed from the secularism, removed from the nation state, if this violence is being done by any religion cause like Christianity or any other religion, then it is bad violence. And you need a good violence from the nation state, sometimes justifiable violence, to humanize them so that the entire globe can become peaceful. This is William Kavanagh argument by the Venice book Myth of Religious Violence. So that's one of the biggest consequences which we see right now. Who is going to decide who are good people and bad people in the violence? Nation state. How do we get the news from nation state? News channels, public opinion. Public opinion, by the way, is never descriptive, it's performative. Do you know this? You might have seen the news on MSN News on the front page. The news was there was a Muslim husband who killed his wife in domestic violence case. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her Jannah Firdaus, Amin ya Rabbi. But front page news, right? Why they're so much concerned with the Muslim woman here when there are Muslim women being butchered in Gaza. Why all of a sudden they are so much concerned? Tell me. That a Muslim woman in Dallas is going through this. Because this statistics will help their narrative. The religion is mythological, religion is rational, and you need to humanize. You need to liberate yourself. Is that clear? So, when you have this statistics or public opinion, which is not descriptive, which is performative, what you do, you basically use this opinion and you say this is the entire community is messed up, they need reform, they need reform, they need reform. Fun fact, do you know American statistics on domestic violence? Oh, way higher. I was checking last time, it was 200,000 annually. Civilized nation, right? Right? How Bombay public shooting, more than 51 where people died in just 2021. Just telling you this. That this is in school. So public shootings are bad, but in school. This is, but who will decide what is good and bad violence? They have two categories, religion and secular, religion and nation state. And no one defines what religion is, no one defines what secular is because it's ever evolving. So whenever anything, who has the power, they can define it. Okay, tell me what is religion. You will get my book, inshallah. Whoever is going to give a closest definition of religion. Yes.
Set of beliefs.
Let me ask a young person because I really love, mashallah, youth responding. Yes. Faith. Can you elaborate more? What is faith then? So something you fall on, you believe on the sacredness. So America. There are authors who said that if you take functionalist definition, you know functionalist versus substantivist? Substantivist is that you take a narrow definition. Functionalist, you take a broad definition. That's how you define things, right? If you take a functionalist definition as you did, then according to some authors, Western authors, America is a religion. You know why? What's the most sacred thing in America right now? Flag. If you want to insult any religion or God, no one will say. But the flag is the most. You cannot. So if you take a sacred definition, then you have to include America as a religion. Okay, I'll give you one more chance. Because you tried, let's say, but even for the rest of the people, you have to buy this, okay? Okay, take this. Inshallah, I help you, man. Okay, anyone else? Sister, anyone else to try defining religion? Try it. Yes. Okay, so sister said three things: set of life, connected with higher beings, like Buddhism. But Buddhism doesn't believe in higher being. So Buddhism explicitly denies the existence of higher being. Do you see a problem here? The problem is, and I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is when you define religion in a functionalist way, in a very shallow way, narrow way, you have to put Buddhism out, you have to put Taoism out, because they don't believe in that. When you broaden this definition, then you have to put America into it, then you have to put nationalism into it, then you have to put economics into it, then you have to put all the other isms into it. Because all of them provide some kind of sacredness or some kind of connection for the higher objective of life.
Sisters have a question.
Okay. So that's one of the problems. Who is going to define what religion is? The one who have power, they will going to define what religion is. If a Muslim person does something stupid, and if he comes out as a Muslim, what you will see on news? That he did not act on his behalf, he acted on the behalf of his entire religion. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. If a white person does something, what you will going to see? Wait a minute. Mental health category. Where will you put this? Mental health category is like a bucket.
Yes.
If you want to save someone, you will put mental health bucket.
Yes.
Right? Oh, he did domestic violence, mental health bucket. But if he's a Muslim, no, he was acting because of his religion. Who is going to decide this? That's what I'm asking. No, whoever has the power. Whoever has the power. And that's what William Kavanagh, Talal Asad, all these great people who work on this science of secularism, liberalism, discuss this. Point is, for us in America, we should not get obsessed with these isms. If we are doing this, then we are not doing any new thing. It's continuation from the time of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. The first ism which came into the Muslim land was actually Aristotelianism. And Imam Ahmad in the 2nd century, 3rd century stood firm on it. And you all know the story. Then Imam Abu al-Hasan Ash'ari, then Imam Ghazali, then Ibn Taymiyyah. So it's not the first time. But what it will do, this will corrupt your understanding of the Quran and Sunnah. Because the problem is we have two lens right now. Two lens. Most of our lens is liberal lens. We try to see Islam from liberal lens. What I'm asking you, try to see liberalism from Islamic lens. Change your lens. One example. Allah says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. What does it mean? Zina is haram or halal? Okay. If you are a true liberal, then you will have a problem with this ayah. How? Rape is haram, yes or no?
Yes.
Why rape is haram?
Because Allah said.
Absolutely, because Allah said this. But the rational argument is, or not rational, liberal argument is force, it's coercion. Yes, in Islam we say coercion, force, for this reason is also haram, but because Allah says it's haram, okay? Two people doing something, zina, with consent, consensual. Liberal would say it's absolutely fine, because it's a consent. Islam would say it's haram. But as a liberal Muslim, you will have really difficult time because it goes against your choice. When two people seeking consent and they're doing with their choice, with their freedom, why God have to restrict their choice? So ask yourself, all of us are, because we are living in an ocean. If fish cannot go out of the ocean, so we all are impacted with liberalism and secular values. But I'm just saying to be in the corner, not be in the center. Because you will going to find difficult when you are going to use liberal lens and secular lens and conservative lens to see Quran and Hadith. Rather change your put Quran and Sunnah lens and then try to see everything. Then I'm getting confused with this ayah. These are the words of Allah. Maybe I need to change my lens instead of changing the interpretation of that ayah of Hadith. Otherwise there is no end. I just read that actually someone came up with the new interpretation that homosexuality is not haram unless it's done in a non-consensual way. Means what are you doing? Playing acrobatics with the Sharia? How far you will go? How far? How far you will come up with your Amriki Islam? Don't do this. Don't do this. Yes, there are legitimate disagreements. Just keep yourself in that level. Don't come up with a new Islam. Iqbal also says, "Khud to badal deni, Quran ko badal dete." They don't change themselves. They want to change the interpretation of the Quran and Hadith. So, yeah. Any question? Quickly. One brother, one sister. Come on, this is a very interesting topic. If you are not asking me, it means that you didn't get anything.
As you said about Islam is not liberal or conservative, right? It's not like we interpret everything because whatever is clear from Quran and Sunnah, we cannot go and change it. People are trying to do it. We have part of conservatism, some part of Islam.
So from the language standpoint, Islam did conserve some of the habits of the Arabian, like Prophet Muhammad ﷺ changed the aqidah of the Sahaba, changed the haram habits of the Sahaba which are haram, but he did not ask them to change the Arabic language. You're speaking Arabic? Okay, let's conserve this. So there is an element of linguistic conservatism, but we are talking about philosophical conservatism. And what is the problem with philosophical liberalism or conservatism? You will wear that lens. You see things around you from the liberal, secular, conservative angle. We all have been into these universities. We all have consumed Netflix and Hollywood. Our worldview will go into that actually with these predominant philosophies. So what I'm saying, in language, yes, Rasulullah conserved some of those rules from the linguistic standpoint, and he liberated few individuals from the zulm. But that's from language standpoint. This is not the language, this is entire philosophy. So never say, I am a liberal Muslim. It's like, can a squared circle exist? Similarly, a liberal Muslim, conservative Muslim, secular Muslim from knowing philosophical background can never exist. One worldview will be predominant. Yes.
Okay.
Actually, sisters, any question? I just want to go one brother, one sister. Okay, alhamdulillah, yes.
Would you agree that the Quran came to confirm the truth of what was before it? So it conserved the truth from before, and it also corrected the wrongs.
Absolutely, and then liberated people from the oppression. So from this we can use it. That's why I say, linguistically it's fine. But the problem is, we all use same language, but in a different style. I'll give you an example. Okay. Freedom. Liberals use the concept of freedom, right? Is it a good concept in Islam or bad concept? Tell me. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. MashaAllah, you're getting something. MashaAllah. So, Islam did not have this conceptualization of freedom what West have. West have freedom from the higher authority. If that's mean, then it's a very bad concept in Islam. But if freedom means free the individual from the slaves and connect it to the higher authority, then Islam says, I'm all for it, man. Then Islam says, if you have a relationship with your spouse in Ramadan, the expiation is go and free the slave. What relationship have to do with freeing the slave? Because Islam encouraged that freedom. Is that clear? We can say there are two similarities between Islamic freedom and the liberal freedom. And then there are few disagreements. The similarities, in Islam, the concept of freedom, freeing individual from people, is good. Even in the modern context of the freedom, it's a positive concept, not a negative concept. The second similarity between Islamic freedom and the modern or liberal concept of freedom is that Islamic freedom says that you don't have unrestricted freedom, you have restricted freedom, right? Even the liberal freedom would say you have restricted freedom. If you have a car, you cannot drive 90 miles per hour. They would say there is a restriction because of the harm. But the problem is epistemology. Who are going to define what are the restrictions? Who are going to define what is the definition of harm? Again, that's nation state, physical harm, because they don't believe in metaphysics, unseen world. We say it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is going to define along with the rational sciences and empirical sciences. Is it clear? So, I would say stay away from these terms, because these terms are problematic and it has created so much confusion. Only use these terms when you want to get your rights. So that's it. You are as a minority, we are as a minority. So when the month of June comes and you are in the school board meeting, then you can use freedom territory, choice territory, though not ideally, philosophically, but you can use it to protect your rights. But for a larger level, it's a circular discussion. If anyone who knows a little bit about philosophy will come, he will actually entrap you completely. Like sisters, if someone asks you, why are you wearing hijab? The most common mistake with some sisters who do, it's my choice. Right? Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides, when Allah decides something for a believing man and believing woman, they don't have any choice. Because Allah's Messenger decided for man and a woman, then they have to do this. This is Surah Al-Ahzab. You should not say this is my choice, because as a believing man and a woman, we don't have choice in following Allah and His Messenger, we have to. Yes, we can say that I have made my choices subservient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever Allah asks, I do. It's not the matter of choice, it's the matter of following higher moral authority. Is that clear? Because when you're using choice argument for hijab, basically you're playing in the liberal territory. And then they can use that choice and they can destroy the entire hermeneutical system. So never use their territory unless you are stuck. You're in school board meeting, you have to write that email, then you can use these things. But this is secondary, weak basis, but we can use it whenever it's durura. Like in durura times, in the extreme necessity, haram becomes halal. So you can use it. But primarily, these are not the arguments which we should definitely use as a practicing Muslim, because it will give lot of issues. Any sister have a question? Yes, sister.
So I have heard people saying instead of religion or
Ifan, can you give mic to sister? That's sister. Cool. That one. Sound going on? Mas, can you help? Saka, can you ring the? Or I can repeat the question.
So I have heard people saying instead of liberal or conservative Muslims, they have chose words practicing and non-practicing Muslims. Is that really
Friends?
Instead of using the liberal or conservative Muslims, using the word practicing or non-practicing?
Okay, when I'm saying liberal and conservative Muslims, most of the time we use linguistically, not philosophically. So you would say, oh, so sheikh in Muslim community, he is a liberal sheikh. You have heard this? You know which video I'm talking about, right? Come on, Houston guys. Okay. Okay. You have to delete this. Next time my video will come. Okay. So and so Sheikh is very conservative. So we use this term. But it's linguistically, it's absolutely fine as long as the other person is understanding your intention. I'm saying that the same term is being hijacked by these philosophies and they are teaching very anti-theistic message. So how can a Muslim say from philosophical angle that I don't have any higher moral authority, I'm a free person? I'm an owner of myself. Individualism means I'm an owner of myself. I can do with my body because it's my body, my choice. A true Muslim can never use these phrases. Can never. Is that clear? But again, and all these reactions are emotional. They're not rational, even though they seem like. So I would say linguistically it's fine. Absolutely. But philosophically, we should be very cautious as parents. Any question from the brothers? Yes. MashaAllah.
So when you're defining something as like, let's say philosophical versus linguistic, right? If you're talking to a lay person, it's gonna be hard to explain to them like what they themselves are saying. If you haven't realized the difference between the philosophical aspect as well as the linguistic aspect, right? So what kind of conversation do you need to have with someone so the idea can be born in their head that, you know, maybe there's a difference. Like to them, it just might all mean the same thing.
And it is. In some accent, they would actually converge also,
Right.
to some point. And that's why these classifications are just to make it easy. But what I'm saying, linguistically, you can use whatever you want. It's okay, as long as you know the difference. That's the point. So basically, you can say, okay, this is pretty conservative Muslim community. It's okay to use it. As long as you understand that there is an entire line in the name of conservatism from philosophical angle saying, and we need to differentiate that. But we do this all the time. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said this in his Majmul Fatawa. He said this, be very careful in overgeneralizing of the language. Ibn Taymiyyah said this. He said there are some terms which you are using from a different conceptualization and someone else used from a different conceptualization, and both of you means something completely different, so don't overgeneralize. I'll give you an example. Social justice, what it means. Come on, you are social justice warriors, right? All of you, Itna people, and YM. You tell me what social justice means. You tell me what social justice means.
Standing up for undermining causes in society.
Standing for undermining causes. Who is going to define what undermining causes is? That's where Islamic social justice and the modern liberal social justice is different. We both agree, unsur akhaka zaliman wa mazluman. Help the zalim and help the mazlum. Help the oppressor and help the oppressed. Qalu ya Rasulullah, how can we help the zalim? Okay, helping the mazlum oppressed is okay. How can we help the zalim? By stopping him. Take a pause here. Who is going to define what is zalim and mazlum, oppressor and oppressed? That's where the neo-Marxist social justice or the modern social justice is different. So they will define their own categories of oppressed and oppressor. And you need to support the Muslim oppressed to bring them up, and you need to bring the people who are oppressors down. It's a long topic. Did you see something? And by doing this, by bringing the status of oppressor down and oppressed up, they would create social justice, a society based on justice. Now, is this necessarily Islamic? Take an example here. When you say social justice, and you just casually use this, then you know what happened? They would define social justice, like liberal social justice, is that pre-COVID, men are oppressor, women are oppressed. Okay, take a pause here. Some women are oppressed, yes or no? Absolutely. Our history also tells us Asiya was oppressed by Fir'aun, right? And we have modern Farina in our homes also, right? And they'll protect all of us, our daughters, but if we say this, that all the women are oppressed and all the men are oppressor, then this is overgeneralization. Sometimes it's other way around. Agree? Agree, sisters? But if you take these neo-Marxist, liberal social justice, you know what will happen? Then you will take this, the women are being oppressed, you will make the system, an educational system, a political system based on this approach. So there are shelter houses for women. Hey, have you heard this? Shelter houses for men. Have you heard this? Did you see something? You see a pattern here. Okay, go further. Rich are oppressor, poor are oppressed. That's neo-Marxist category. In Islam, we say, yeah, poor people are oppressed by the manipulation of rich people. But is it all the time? No, because Allah says in Surah An-Nisa, stand for justice in society. Whether يكون فقيرا أو غنيا, whether it's against poor or rich. Allahu Akbar. Did you see how Allah corrected what the modern day social justice? So the problem is when you're using social justice, just when you are giving speech to non-Muslim audience, it's okay to use it. But I would say introduce your conceptualization of social justice instead of saying generally social justice to get likes and tweets, because that is very dangerous. And you don't even realize that when you are going to go from this path to that path, because you both are using the same language. And that's why I said, the first point I said, English is a pretty anti-theistic language. Use it carefully if you're using terms in English. Yeah. Okay, any other sister, do you have a question? Any sister? Alhamdulillah. By the way, you can, inshallah, get my books from here, inshallah, before Isha or after Isha, however. Any question from the brothers? That's perfect, mashallah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just since we are parents and we are parenting,
Yes.
looking at this whole culture,
Yes.
how do you propose that we groom the kids
Yeah.
in a way that the IOC is having that basic necessity?
Yes. We actually discussed this about our worldview class in our Amrit program, third or fourth class, discussing these isms. It's a very important question, extremely important question. You don't even know your kids are exposed to these different isms, and they will going to see Islam from this angle. Some of our kids, unfortunately, they don't even see that homosexuality and transgenderism is problematic, because they are seeing Islamic rulings from the liberal lens. Because it's a matter of choice and freedom. Why you would have issue with that, dad and mom, right? Because they would see their aqidah is not about Allah or His Messenger. Their aqidah is freedom and choice. So when you are raising them, see, when they're teenager, then parenting will be different. When they are young, you have to change your parenting style. You have to work. You don't have to teach them, but you have to work on their epistemology. You know what epistemology is? Don't you tell them what epistemology, they will run away. But work on their epistemology. Epistemology is where you are getting your knowledge from. If you say, I know something, what does it mean? Did you just read the WhatsApp message and you start believing that this is happening? If that's your knowledge, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. But most of the people get their knowledge from Twitter, from Facebook, from WhatsApp. There might be truth, there might not be truth. For Muslim epistemology, we have Quran and Sunnah, and that is our reference point. Then empirical sciences, rational sciences, and then there are feelings which are praiseworthy, we should put under the divine guidance. And there are feelings which are blameworthy, we should fix those feelings. This is Muslim epistemology. Now the liberal epistemology have removed Quran and Sunnah because they don't believe in Allah. They only believe on these 5 things. And then on top of that, when you believe in freedom and individualism, it means you are giving complete authority to feelings. Whatever you want, just do it. That's your true self. So when we see our young kids become really confused and have 2 different identities, it's just the reflection that they have 2 different epistemologies, 2 different sources of getting their authentic knowledge, what they call authentic. As a parent, just like, okay, I'll give you a language example. This is a very important question. How many of you are bilingual? Raise your hand. Urdu? Arabic? Okay, few, mashallah. Okay. These are my kids, mashallah, Fatima and Habban. And Maryam is also here somewhere. They speak Urdu, alhamdulillah. They can speak broken Arabic. And I'm trying to read Gujarati also. Gujarat Gujju. Tell me one thing. In Dallas, if I'm raising them, if I am not teaching them from the day one Urdu or Arabic, as my kids in Dallas, will they have chance to learn Urdu or Arabic? Chances are very slim. Very slim, but okay. If I'm not teaching them English in Dallas, will they have chances of learning English?
Yes.
Why? It's a predominant thing. Similarly, we have 2 worldviews in our heart. 2 different standards of halal and haram. One says rape is haram but zina is okay. Islam says rape is haram and zina is haram. These two different standards. Two different standards. Tell me which standard, which worldview is predominant, Islamic or modern? Modern. Netflix, schooling system, education system, libraries, friends, environment, even Muslim who are ignorant about this. Their worldview is pretty modern. That's by default language. They will learn English. What you have to do as a parent, you have to teach. Not only teach that second language, but rather change and make that as a first language. Because only one language will survive with you. As you grow old, those of you who are immigrants and those who married to a revert sister, you know what will happen? Slowly you will practice your English, and neither now you can speak English nor you can speak Urdu. Right? Because now you're not practicing your Urdu that much, and you are not born and raised here, so now you are in some different category. You're not even in the spectrum. This is the problem. Only one language, only one worldview will survive with you. You know in language we do code switching? You know code switching? That I'm speaking to you right now, and I'm saying we all should have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many terms we have used in Arabic? Taqwa, Allah subhanahu, this code switching. Speaking in one language, and I immediately switch my code in other language. I didn't even realize. In worldview we do code switching, do you know this? In worldview we do code switching. You don't even realize as Muslim parents. So for example, there's sister, by the way, Fatima, not talking about you, okay? There's sister Fatima, using generic name. There's a sister Fatima who is non-practicing Muslim. If you will ask her, Sister Fatima, will you eat pork? Even if she's non-practicing, most likely she will say no. Why? Because eating pork is socially awkward for a Muslim. Take a pause here. Same Sister Fatima, next day, she is on the beaches of Florida without any clothes. Illa mashallah, illa mandilain. When you have this, when you ask her, why don't you wear hijab, Sister Fatima? You just said that you won't eat pork. What Sister Fatima will say? My choice. Did you see something? She immediately switched her code. As a Muslim parent, we switch our codes all the time. You know how? Okay. What time is Salat al-Fajr, sisters? Here, Salat al-Fajr? 6?
6:20.
Okay, 6 o'clock. Let's say Monday comes, you wake your kids up for 6 o'clock, your wife comes or your husband comes, sister. Why you are waking our teenager kids? Allah is Ghafoor Rahim. Don't spoil their sleep. Let them sleep. Okay. After 1 hour, they have to wake up for school. You wake them up. Your spouse would never come that Allah is Ghafoor Rahim. Don't wake them up. You see that? Why? Because going to school is important. Prayer, Allah is Ghafoor Rahim. Where this attitude is coming? Code switching. Dunya is more important, Akhirah is not important. Allah is not important, ourself and human being is important. Body is important, soul is not important. Complete switch of worldview. We parents do this all the time. If young teenager says, Dad, Mom, I'm struggling with casual relationship, help me out. No, fast, fast. But marriage, when you are 22, astaghfirullah, what faith you show to the community? Just fast, keep fasting. We are taking the sexuality paradigm of the modern perspective, not the Islamic perspective. And you want to follow Islamic paradigm also. So basically you are asking your son and daughter, do not have halal relationship, do not have haram relationship, they will going to get crazy. Because a crazy person can do anything. If you will ask a person not to eat pork and not to eat halal food, what they will do? They will starve out. We all have a conflict within our heart for last few centuries because obviously of the Ottoman Empire collapse and now Islam making maghroof from Ghalib. What we have to do as a parents is you ask. At least in my home I have a mini khilafat, yes or no? I have a mini authority. I will be questioned about me, myself and my family first and foremost before the global ummah. The global ummah is a responsibility, but that will after my family. If I can work hard to change their worldview, that will be great. If you have a session and discuss, let's say, about the story of Lut alayhi salam and tell them about the modern day manifestation of Lut alayhi salam's nation. Have a session with them on Yusuf alayhi salam and then tell them the modern manifestation of zina versus nikah. Even their teenager kids. If you have a conversation with them, tell them, ask them critical questions. Okay, if you're doing this, then why this is halal, why this is haram, why this is good, why this is bad, where you're getting it. Because our good and bad comes from Allah. Have this conversation from the young age, so eventually when they will grow old, they know that their good and bad definition comes from Allah. This will going to make them cruise control when they will be teenagers. They know even if parents have passed away, parents are not looking at us, at least we know where good and bad comes from. So that's just work on their epistemology, inshallah. Any other question? That's it, Jazakumullahu khairan.